I wake up, I check my factory and cry that I've overcapped on resources and everything is at a standstill. I go and take a shower, but all I can think about is how to make my factory more efficient. I go to work out and I'm reeling at the fact that I need to find more ore spots to make my builds work. Creating blueprints feels like I've just submitted a bloody PhD thesis. This game makes me feel like I'm actually smart, which is very welcome because the amount that I browse Twitter these days, I feel like my overall IQ has plummeted to levels so low, you'd have thought it could be part of a headline for America's generational snowstorm. Do you get it yet? The factory must grow. Arknights Endfield has genuinely surprised me. I haven't felt this good about a 1.0 of a game since I played Honkai Star Rail on its launch day. Don't get me wrong, there were issues, some huge ones at that, and we're going to touch on them. But this game has gripped me by my metaphorical testicles in every sense of the word. Before I get too deep into it, I want to say this. I am unsponsored. I want to be able to give my full opinion without interference. I was actually offered something, but I kind of rejected it because I want to be able to be honest and to be fair. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is the first time a gacha game has me more invested and interested in its core gameplay than its story or characters. Enfield has gotten people that have never tried factory automation games into giving it a shot and finding out that actually they love it. Of course, it's not for everyone, that would be impossible, but this is not a TV situation that Zenless Zone Zero had. This is a genre of game that's loved by many, me included. I'm not kidding. Playing Arknights Endfield made me load up my 10-year-old Factorio saves. I've always had a soft spot for these kinds of systems, and Endfield just tickles that part of your brain that loves satisfying gameplay, where there is always progression to be made that is outside of character building. In fact, a lot of your character progression, mainly gear, actually comes from being able to craft it from your factory. It's one of those things that no amount of me explaining it to you or telling you how addictive it is can convince you. You just have to try it for yourself to understand. But don't get me wrong, the game initially doesn't help itself with inflicting you with tutorial fatigue that lasts around 4 hours into the game. There's a lot, though I can understand why the devs did this. They just want to make sure people that have never played these kinds of games before understand its systems. It can definitely be annoying, and I think that refining this over time would be best. But once you get past most of it, the game stays a lot more quiet, and tutorials are left as optional simulations you can choose to do that also give nice rewards. Once you figure out the basics, it's actually pretty straightforward to figure out how it all operates with enough practice. Like anything, it becomes muscle memory. And rather figuring out how to build stuff, you'll just be like me that spends hours remodeling your whole factory to be more efficient, only to get a new facility that makes you reconsider your whole strategy in the first place, and you spend even more hours remodeling it again. There's definitely a catharsis you get when you select your whole factory to delete it, only to make something much more advanced and improved. It's one of those things where deleting your progression doesn't feel frustrating, but instead you're excited about how to make it even better. I think that's what has gotten so many people hooked. It's about knowing you're going to create something awesome. I'll be pretty blunt about something though. If you don't like factory automation games, Arknights Endfield might be a hard sell for you. Yes, blueprints exist and you can share them between players, but bypassing this core gameplay is ignoring the whole ethos of the game. Enfield Industries builds cutting-edge technologies, and the factory gameplay leans right into that. It's like playing Infinity Nikki, but you don't like the dress-up part of the game. I'm not here telling people how to play and enjoy games though. That's exactly why the blueprints exist after all. However, the other aspects of the game, mainly its story, are for sure the weakest selling points of current Arknights Endfield. The first 20-minute introduction is one of the best I've ever seen in a gacha. Cinematics, voice acting, music, boss fights, it's visually stunning, and I have to say, this game runs so smoothly, it's crazy how much it added to my overall enjoyment. I'm constantly left bewildered that this game runs as smooth as butter. It's kind of a shame when we have games left, right, and center that refuse to release optimized, and we actually expect them to run like trash on launches. It's crazy that us saying, wow, this game runs perfectly, is a shocker and surprise and not just a normal experience. But it's true. I was running the game 120 frames a second, everything on max, and I didn't even have frame generation or DLSS turned on. These are devs that know optimizations can make or break public perception, and them taking longer to release a polished game is absolutely 100% justified. But unfortunately, a polished game can't cover up for a story that, for the most part, feels secondary to its gameplay. At least the Valley Force story. Not much actually happens. You talk a bit, kill some landbreakers, big sexy dragon woman stirs up some drama, kill more landbreakers, build a factory, you're the chosen one, Enderman! Guys, there's a big bad aether block we have to deal with, killing more landbreakers, you get the idea. It's nothing new or groundbreaking, it's not terrible, it's just not something that I'm particularly interested in. I hope it picks up once I get to Wuthering, and in 1.1, though a lot of the characters do make for good companions. Chen has been a great addition to the cast. Her reactions are great, and has even become a bit of a meme online already. But the story isn't really a sell for the game for me right now. Actually, it's something that I sigh about when I realize I have to progress in order to be able to mine new types of ore. But I felt a similar way about other Gacha's 1.0 releases, so I'm willing to let them cook on this one. I genuinely think the gameplay is worth the story in this case. Let's talk about exploration. I'm a bit of an open world hater because it's really hard to make an open world that's genuinely immersive and interactive. A lot of the time, games have to compensate for their open world by providing exploration methods that can sometimes feel like it trivializes it, where the actual traversal becomes a selling point rather than the world it exists in. But in Arknights, it's not a true open world. It's what I call an open-leveled world. You can't climb, and there aren't any mounts. You can deploy zip lines to easily travel from location to location if you wish. However, this means the world is way more intentionally designed. There are puzzles that you actually have to bring equipment for, chests that you actually have to platform your way over to. You don't just climb over everything to reach them. The area that actually made me realize I loved this world layout was arguably one of the slower moments of the main story, the quarry. You spend a lot of time doing a bunch of platforming, and I actually really loved that aspect. You just don't go from point A to point B. You actually have to interact with the world the devs made, and they tell a story along the way. It feels so much more intentional, and I appreciated it a lot. Now for the combat. In Arknights Endfield, it's very combo focused and satisfying when you hit that 5 or even 6 string combo. Every character has a certain trigger condition. When triggered, it does a combo skill. It might be that you perform a final strike, or you stack a certain reaction art onto an enemy that triggers a combo skill in someone else. You can form so many teams that chain together, and you're left feeling pretty satisfied. It feels way more JRPG-like, and I enjoy the fact it allows you to be more reactive and less restrictive in how you play, and characters aren't always entirely dependent on ER requirements and strict rotations for them to do anything meaningful or useful. I also really enjoy that characters are pretty easy to understand. You don't have to read what's the equivalent of the Old Testament in their kits to understand what they do. It's a couple of sentences and you're on your way. I also love that they make it so obvious what statue to prioritize for your characters. It's clear Hypergriff just wants players to have an easy time with this game, not to stress over the boring stuff and spend more time actually playing and having fun. I've really enjoyed making my own teams and combos without having to look up any guides. It's been a blast. Combat itself is great. It's not perfect by any means. I don't like that the AI is stupid. Sometimes it gets hit for the dumbest reasons. I don't like that after bursting out my combo, I feel like I'm sitting with my fingers up my arse for a bit while I prepare for my next burst. But these are minor things overall. Compared to the beta which I played both of, combat has come leaps and bounds from where it used to be, and it's obvious the devs have listened massively to feedback. I'm very curious to see where they take it and develop it further over the time as new characters come out. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Hypergriff fucked up. The PayPal issue is inexcusable and absolutely ruined trust of many players. This is quite literally the worst thing that could happen on a launch day where people are actually losing money by playing your game. There are people who use their PayPal account in order to get pulls or buy things from the store, and other people were able to somehow utilize that information and essentially use other people's PayPal accounts to get their own pulls. This is inexcusable. I know for me personally, I'm not forking out any cash anytime soon for Hypergriff, and I'm sure that's a similar sentiment for a lot of people. However, in saying this, the unfortunate reality is that because this isn't an issue that's affected a huge number of players, not many people will truly see the need to care because A, they didn't know about it because they don't involve with online gacha communities, B, it didn't happen to them specifically, so it's hard to care if you're already enjoying the game, or C, they didn't care about the game anyway and just use it as a reason to shout why people shouldn't play the game. It could be a mix of all of these things, but the controversy doesn't seem to have slowed down the amount of people that are enjoying the game itself. Will Hypergriff have lost money over this? Likely, and they definitely affected their future earnings by destroying player trust. So they're already facing their karma, and rightfully so. There's no excuse for it. They fucked up and will pay the price with lower profits and a community of people that will hang this over the company's head forever. Now, let's talk about the gacha. Is it the worst thing on this god-given earth, or is it actually W-based and mega free-to-play friendly? I think truly it's neither of those things. I do think though the pull economy is quite low. I know Rene tried to debunk this by sweating out to level 15 a day and show it's possible to get 120 pulls, but for the average player who takes games super casually, it's going to take a long time to guarantee. I don't think this is a good or bad thing, it's just something you have to take into consideration. Don't go into this game thinking you're going to be for sure able to play for 5 hours and pull on a banner. You won't get the character, and I don't recommend pulling unless you're able to guarantee. This is a game where you'll probably only be able to guarantee 1 out of the 3 banners they release a patch if the current cycle stays the same. But here's the thing, this is the first time I've played a gacha game where I actually don't care for the characters as much as the game itself. For a lot of these gachas, the fun is pulling the character because the core gameplay becomes the characters you pull. But for Endfield, having the swanky new characters on the banner changes nothing about your factory building apart from seeing a different kick-ass character on your screen. So I actually don't mind the fact I'm not able to pull quickly. And if anything, the slow pull economy kind of forces you to not care about it much either. I'm not sure if that's the greatest strategy for a gacha game where the player bases inherently care about characters the most. Sometimes I wonder if Hypergriff really wanted the gacha aspect of this game to be secondary to the gameplay for that reason, because it seems like they make all the steps to you to not be able to pull or want you to care. Or maybe actually it's a genius move to get people to spend more because the pull acquisition does feel so slow, it'll make impatient people spend. Who knows? Maybe it's all of these things. Personally, I just wish the pity carried over, and that's really it. I also don't like the fact that 6-star weapons seem to be quite impactful for a lot of characters, and a lot of characters can use multiple different 6 stars with some 5 stars also. But in order to acquire the weapons, you need to pull for characters, which you can do on standard headhunting, but after the New Horizons event and using up the ones they give you as early progression rewards, they become a lot harder to obtain unless you're pulling for your guaranteed limited. But as it currently stands, it's not been a problem where it affects my gameplay progression, and until it does, I'll give it a pass. I'll have more well-rounded takes on this whole gacha and weapon system once we've gone through a whole patch cycle or two. I want to refrain from making absolutist takes on this kind of thing when long-term info needs to be taken into account. I think anyone making absolute statements on the matter less than a week into the game is pulling the trigger a little early. I'd much rather wait and see the evidence. So, would I recommend Arknights Endfield? Is it a game for you? Man, it's a game you can play for free. Load it up and tell me yourself. I've been having a ton of fun. It's absolutely not without its issues. I do wonder once you max out your factory how the gameplay will feel. Will it be repetitive? Will it quickly fall off on interest once you have everything automated? How will the devs manage this progression? Only time will tell if this game has true staying power. But right now, you can absolutely easily pump 50 hours into this game and not get bored, which is more than even a lot of single player games, and that's all for free. So that's my first impressions of Arknights Endfield. If you would like some more in-depth thoughts, then give a like, give a comment, subscribe, let me know what you thought, and I'm going to be going to way more in-depth about each of these points that I've mentioned, from characters, to story, to automation, to the gacha, in future videos individually. So make sure you subscribe for that one. I stream almost every single day on Twitch, on Kick. My links are all in the description and in the comments. I appreciate y'all guys. I see you on the next one. Peace.